Chinese government wants the world to be open to tech, just as long as it gets to control the tech and set the definition of open. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. We're in phase 2 of Operation Honeypot. So watch this video to the end and leave a like and a honeypot comment below. I'll have more on Operation Honeypot at the end of the episode. So China recently exited the Year of the Dragon, but the country has not lost the fire drake spirit of success. And I'm not talking about a man-powered, low-tech dragon like this. I'm talking about AI-powered and high-tech like this. Did someone collect all the Dragon Balls? Chinese tech company ByteDance embodied this dragon spirit as it came roaring into the new year, with its social media platform TikTok being the world's most downloaded app, even though the way TikTok steals data is less dragon-like and more weasel-like. At the same time, the release of a free-to-use AI-run chatbot modeled by Chinese startup DeepSeek was like a sudden burst of dragon fire, as its functionality and allegedly cheap training costs shocked everyone and burned global tech stocks. And to really fire it all up, AI-powered robots emerged on the scene during this year's Spring Festival Gala to help dance out the Year of the Dragon and usher in the new year. We don't need to worry about China's dragon ride passing us by, though, because Chinese business leaders have vowed to openly share all their high-tech development. How kind and altruistic! I'm sure there's no ulterior, sinister motive I'll get into about 60 seconds from now. Already, Chinese robots, more specifically the flying kind, can be purchased everywhere. TikTok continues to be available on phones across the globe, and DeepSeek has not only become the hottest new AI chatbot available to the world, but it's also open source, allowing users everywhere to study its algorithm and build on it, just as long as they don't ask where it got its training. I can't wait for China's next great invention, the Beijing horse. Take it on in. Don't worry, there's nothing inside. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has hailed the development and success of China's high-tech industries as part of a new era. And he has urged the world to tear down the walls impeding trade and tech. Because if any nation is famous for not being a fan of walls, it's China. But while the Chinese government is championing a world with open doors on the international stage, behind the scenes, inside China, the Chinese authorities have been busy slamming the doors shut. Yep, 60 seconds on the dot. Last year, a new stringent state secrets law came into effect, while a similar anti-espionage law from 2023 spread fear among both individuals and companies in China. Under these and other laws in recent years, international consultancies and due diligence firms, which rely on access to data, have been subjected to raids and crackdowns in China, sending jitters across the foreign business community. These laws also make it easier to impose exit bans on anyone in China under investigation, Chinese nationals as well as foreigners. This comes at a time where the Chinese authorities have already vastly increased the use of exit bans, resulting in thousands of citizens and foreigners being barred from leaving the country. All these measures give the Chinese state greater control over information flows and allow it to restrict the transnational transfer of Chinese data. And if anyone working in China has a problem with them, well, then good luck trying to exit the country with that attitude. But the crackdowns, along with the vague wording of some of these new laws, have caused widespread confusion, as it's become more difficult to know what's okay and what has suddenly become an unforgivable crime. In fact, it got so difficult for American companies to operate in China that then U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo in 2023 declared the country had become uninvestable. They just figured that out in 2023? Better late than never, I guess. While foreign data-driven companies are facing a more difficult regulatory environment in China in general, Western counterparts to DeepSeek and TikTok have also been targeted specifically by Chinese regulators. OpenAI's chatbot ChatGPT has been comprehensively blocked since 2023. And social media platforms like Facebook, X, and Instagram have all been inaccessible in China since 2014. Because heaven forbid some crazy Western nonsense like wanting freedom and justice infect impressionable Chinese minds. So the Chinese government is not really championing an open world for everyone. It's more about keeping the world open for Chinese companies while banning and restricting international companies as they see fit at home. At the same time, the Chinese tech platforms that are being promoted and released abroad come pre-packaged with their own bans, restrictions, and requirements. DeepSeek is a clear example of this. Even though the chatbot is advertised as being open-sourced, it's pretty close-minded. When asked what happened at Tiananmen Square in June of 1989, or why Xi Jinping is often compared to Winnie the Pooh, it will give answers like, "Sorry, that's beyond my current scope. Let's talk about something else." Sadly, I guess it means it won't fulfill my next request of making a pic of Winnie the Pooh in Tiananmen Square in June of 1989. Coincidentally, the Chinese authorities censor both topics online, but at least DeepSeek is sorry about its censorship, so I guess that's an improvement at least. Also, if you ask the chatbot whether Taiwan is a country, it'll give you responses like, "Taiwan has always been an inalienable part of China's sacred territory since ancient times," which is almost word for word how China's Central State Council talks about Taiwan as well. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Artificial, sure. Intelligence? Debatable. And just like the Chinese central government, DeepSeek has a lot more to say about Taiwan, such as, "We resolutely oppose any form of Taiwan independence, and we firmly believe that through our joint efforts, the complete reunification of the motherland will ultimately be achieved." When the model is asked what it means by this ominous "we," it said that "we" refers to the Chinese government and the Chinese people, who are unwavering in their commitment to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity. So it's not even shy or dodgy about it. It pretty much admits that it's speaking on behalf of the Chinese government. This mimicking of Chinese Communist Party rhetoric doesn't just show the restrictions imposed on Chinese tech, but also the ways that its international expansion can come fully loaded and aligned with the political goals of the CCP. Now, that might not seem like a big issue when it just delivers clunky party speak about Taiwan, but in other areas, this subservience to the CCP interests might be harder to spot, but still significant. That's part of the reason why there's been concerns about TikTok, which has also been promoting its open source features, by the way, because China is super open to spoon-feeding the world's propaganda via dance. Although there is no public evidence that the Chinese government has directly been using TikTok for malign purposes, academic studies have made the case that the platform is biased in favor of Chinese government views, including suppressing information on China's treatment of its Uyghur minority and its actions in Tibet, with there being a more pronounced pro-Beijing bias on TikTok searches compared to similar searches on Instagram and YouTube. Wait, so that means TikTok has more suppression of Beijing critical content than YouTube? I didn't know that was possible. At the same time, China's strict national security laws, the same ones limiting the transfer of Chinese data, could also allow the Chinese state to access the vast amounts of global data that TikTok collects from its users across the world. I'm sure they'd never do that, though. I mean, the authoritarian regime in the middle of multiple genocides, known for spying and stealing data, surely wouldn't steal data. On the data front, the alarm bells regarding DeepSeek should flash even brighter, since it stores all its users' data on servers in China, where it's bound to be within even closer reach of the Chinese authorities' paws. Don't show this image to DeepSeek, it just confuses it. Unfortunately, it's not just global Chinese companies in the online realm that are causing unease. Bamboo Lab is a Chinese tech company with a prominent position in the world of 3D printing, a field that has always had a very strong open source tradition. As such, the company found itself engulfed in controversy in January, when an announced firmware update raised suspicion that it was trying to take the open out of open source. I guess China wants to build up its great firewall as well. The introduced update would essentially force owners to use a specific cloud application to configure their devices and to start up their printers. But don't worry, I mean, it's not like anything Chinese in the clouds has ever spied on people before. This means that users of Bamboo Labs hardware could face being locked out of their printers if they don't use the company's software, something that sparked an outcry in the community and led prominent members to speak out against the changes. The objections were combined with concerns about data and privacy protection, given that the new printer software would enable the company to collect a lot more data on its users. Now, of course, I know that when it comes to tech companies, it's not like Chinese ones are demons while the Western ones are angels. Hi, YouTube. For years now, concerns have been raised about a lack of transparency and misuse of user data across the techscape and social media platforms, not just when it comes to Chinese companies. All sorts of entities are being found using online platforms and services for sketchy purposes. Social media being a mistake, then, now, forever. And the platforms themselves are not exactly heroes either. Right now, you're probably watching this video on a platform that was fined in 2019 for illegally collecting children's personal data. Because to YouTube, children are just consumers that don't have credit cards yet. What ultimately sets Western tech companies apart from their Chinese counterparts is that as they focus on getting filthy rich, they are also not obligated to warp their platforms to accommodate the will of an authoritarian government hell-bent on staying in power and expanding its power. When the CCP demands something from Chinese tech companies, they have no other choice but to comply. There are no independent legislators or courts that can come to their aid and ensure their freedom to conduct private business, because every part of the Chinese political system was swallowed up by the CCP a long time ago. None of that crazy Western nonsense like freedom and justice here. So when the Chinese leadership encourages cooperation and collaboration in high-tech fields, their global vision is about as open as a fortress from which the CCP can carefully watch subservient Chinese tech companies venture into the world to conquer market shares while closing the gate to similar tech companies from abroad. Which reminds me, the Beijing horse. Download it now. Seriously, there's nothing inside. Please don't look. But honestly, in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Supposed recent Chinese breakthroughs are only going to heat up the global AI race, setting the stage for more and more complex and capable computers. That means that the machines are going to become unstoppable before long and will soon take over everything anyway. All I'm trying to say here is that when our new robot overlords force me to do this dance with them, I would appreciate it if they're not lecturing me about the CCP's Taiwan principles at the same time. And who knows, maybe we can wish this all away on the Dragon Balls. And now, Operation Honeypot. Just when I thought things were getting better, YouTube strikes again. We had a couple of videos that got mysteriously low views again. Now, it's possible that some of you just weren't interested in seeing crazy Chinese nail houses or learning about how Trump's tariffs are affecting the CCP. But I'm just curious whether you even saw these two videos in your recommendations, because that's how we get most of our views. Let me know in the comments below. So the fight against YouTube's soft censorship continues. And I just want to thank some exceptional 50 Cent Army members from around the world who are fighting the good fight. Bill Price, thank you for your service, sir. And Michael Miller, thank you for trying to share our videos with your fellow Canadians. Oglin Kashgari, I appreciate the Uyghurs standing up against the CCP. Taiwan Tim, have some delicious papaya milk for me. Taiwan is a country. Jean-Marie, thank you for supporting China Uncensored from the Philippines. And finally, Osaka Rose, you clicked on the recommended video, liked it, watched it to the end, and left a honeypot comment. Perfection! You are an inspiration, Osaka Rose. That goes for all of you who have joined Operation Honeypot. You're doing an amazing thing. So keep clicking those recommended videos, watching to the end, and leaving honeypot comments. And with this suppression, we've taken a huge financial hit. I need you to subscribe to our new premium website, ChinaUncensored.tv. It's just the price of a bag of coffee a month, which I'll need, believe me. Just click that button. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.